I just got back from the movie theater. I watched Clerks 3. I have a lot of thoughts. Short version, um, if you are a Kevin Smith fan, more specifically, if you are a View Askewniverse fan, if you know what that means, then you don't need to listen to any reviews. You just should watch the movie. If you're just a Clerks 1 fan, maybe. I think you should still watch the movie, but I think you should probably watch some other movies if you haven't. But basically, the more Clerks and Clerks related movies you've seen, and the more times you've seen them, the more you're going to get out of this. My background here is I watched Clerks on VHS back in the day, and at that time, Clerks Mallrats. I think Clerks and Mallrats were out already, and Chasing Amy was the thing. It was what was just coming out, so that's when I became aware of Kevin Smith. And I think the first Kevin Smith movie I saw in the theater was Dogma. That's my recollection. And I've seen a lot of them in the theater since then. Not all of them, but I definitely saw Clerks 2 in the theater, and Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back in the theater. Reboot I did not see in the theater. I'm probably skipping something else in there, but in terms of the core View Askewniverse, it was Dogma forward, minus Reboot, as I remember. And I've always been a big fan of those characters, of Dante and Randall, of all the little smaller roles that come in and out and make their way back into especially the Jay and Silent Bob movies. The first Jay and Silent Bob movie has grown on me the more I've watched it, just because of how many references there are. And I've always really loved Clerks over all of them. And for me, I think at first Mallrats was my second, and Chasing Amy was sort of my third favorite, and things got, I don't know. Well, then Jay and Silent Bob. Dogma, I don't know. I like parts of Dogma. I just think some of the writing is overdone, and there's just too much pontificating, and yeah, I don't know. So it's been a while since I watched it, but that was, I like the movie. It's just my least favorite of the View Askewniverse, and Clerks 2 worked really well for me. And then Reboot, I've only seen once, and I don't think I'm missing anything, but I'm going to watch Reboot again, though, after watching Clerks 3, because it feeds into this, too, so I'm definitely glad I watched it the one time, for sure. So I'm sure there are bigger fans than me, and for anyone out there who's like all hung up over the He-Man stuff, I kind of separate Kevin Smith. Like, this is his real stuff, and the other things that he does sometimes, like He-Man, for instance, I know he was pretty involved in making that happen, but it doesn't have a Kevin Smith vibe to it like his actual live action movies do. Even the other animated stuff isn't as, I'm not as into. The thumbnail, this was what I was surprised. Like, I was expecting, or kind of hoping in a way, for some like really hilarious stuff, because both Clerks 1 and 2 have just super strong, hilarious stuff in them. After one viewing of Clerks 3, I don't feel like the humor had quite hit those levels. Now, sometimes, like with Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, for me, it takes a couple viewings for my head to wrap around it, right? That may be the case here, but part of that is Clerks 2 definitely started to go into the more emotionally heavy direction. I mean, there was bits of it in Clerks 1, but you didn't really know the characters as well. Once you hit Clerks 2, the weight of them getting older and still doing this has really started to weigh in. And they do a good job in that movie of working that angle, especially at the end of the movie. This one has even more of that in it. And I think for the most part, it lands really well. And by the end, it has landed, very effectively. And some of that, and I'm going to stay away from explicit spoilers, but if you've watched the trailer, you know that Randall has decided to make a movie, and they're basically making Clerks. So one of the awesome things about that is in the movie, they're making it in black and white, but the movie you're watching is in color. So you get to see them remake certain scenes, and basically you're cutting between their camera perspective and yours. So we're cutting between black and white, which sometimes looks so much like the original movie, and it's not. And then there are scenes from the original movie that show up too, but for the most part, when you see it in black and white, you're seeing it a recreation that looks so much like the original movie, and then it cuts into the color version of these scenes from the other angles that are not the camera they're shooting with, and the way that works together is really beautiful, and it's more visually interesting than you would ever have thought a Clerks movie could be. I know they kind of tried to play with it a little in Clerks 2, but they dropped the black and white thing too easily. Here, they do both very well. So that's my favorite aspect of it. I do think a lot of the humor was very funny. It just, we'll see. We'll see how it grows on me or not. It's just not the highlight of the movie, though. Interestingly enough, it's the heart that works the most. I walked out of that theater feeling very emotionally satisfied. And I guess to some degree I expected it, but I just didn't really expect. I didn't know, especially the third act, how that was going to play out at all. So I went in very blind, and I recommend doing that yourself if you're going to see the movie. So you can tell this is where Kevin Smith's heart really is this. And I saw it through a Fathom event screening, and it opened with Kevin Smith doing a little intro. And then during the credits, he tells a story that has an additional scene. I don't know if that's going to be in all the credits, or it seems like it's just he put it in the credits because he cut it out of the movie and he wanted it there. Kind of like in Tusk, how in the credits they have part of the podcast that was the sort of inspiration point for that movie existing. Here he's telling, a story about, a scene that's not in the movie that was written originally, I think. And then they also had a sort of behind the scenes featurette interview with the cast and some shots of the actual production. They shot it actually at the actual Quick Stop in Jersey, and why that was important and how that all worked. And that it was just an excellent experience all around. So I know there's always been a lot of dislike for Kevin Smith among previous fans, and then more recently over He-Man and stuff like that. And I just urge you, if you were ever into Clerks and Mallrats and let's say Clerks, really the things that feed into this the most are really Clerks, Clerks 2, obviously, and then the Jay and Silent Bob movies are very relevant. You could, there might be some stuff from the Clerks cartoon in here too. I need to double. It's been a while, but that's not completely necessary, I don't think. But I do think the Jay and Silent Bob movies, both of them, and I think maybe Reboot even more so than the original Strike Back, feed into this if you want the full experience. But Yeah, if you haven't watched the first Clerks movie in a while, though, watch it a couple times. It'll really help Clerks 3 hit home for you as hard as it possibly can. So anyway, those are my 2 cents for now. Really enjoyed it. Definitely going to pick that up on Blu-ray when it comes out. If any of you guys watching this have seen it, let me know what you think. If you hated it, let me know. If you think I'm completely off base, or if you loved it as well, or if you think it's hilarious and I just didn't get everything, let me know. And obviously, like this video, subscribe to the channel. Peace.